First of all, I want to say I'm not fucking happy that I'm even responding to this, but genuinely, this whole fucking thread that you have been in with the lovely @BanalPlay has been genuinely pissing me off. Anyhow, your question that you just asked is essentially, I don't know. No, your claim is that the fact that these professors has anti-Zionist views and that they were ousted from their positions, that they were persecuted for those anti-Zionist views, is indicative that there is a Jewish and somehow simultaneously leftist, but let's say just a Jewish conspiracy in power, and through that power that they influence, they kicked out these professors. And first of all, I just want to say that this entire issue perfectly demonstrates exactly what the fuck Lana, aka BanalPlay, is saying about, being an academic, actually studying history, and how that leads you to leftist, anti-imperialist, anti-Zionist positions, as opposed to the sort of pseudo-intellectual, right-wing, online, 4chan poll reader, I don't know what, sort of positions that you are clearly demonstrating. And in order to answer your question properly, we actually have to, look at the history somewhat of what the hell's happened with Zionism, its origins, why Israel was even created as a state, who by. And first of all, the origins of Zionism, I believe, come from the early 20th century, maybe even late 19th century. I believe in the UK, where extremely conservative, extremely Christian Englishmen thought, we don't really like all these Jews here, so I think it would be better that they have an ethno-state somewhere else, so that we can have an ethno-state here. Again, an extremely conservative, imperialist position, right? And, that's kind of what led to the Balfour Declaration being made. I can't remember the name of the British politician who helped in the spreading of the Zionist idea, but he was radically Christian from what I remember in the history. It's been a while since I've read this. And nonetheless, the origins aren't at all from Jewish people. When Zionism first became an ideology and a movement in that period, it was largely not supported by most Jews. Most Jews were actually genuinely hurt by the movement because it emphasized them as outsiders. Specifically, I remember, in Morocco, Jews were essentially integrated. They were not really seen as terribly different from a societal standpoint, culturally. And through the, creation of this movement, they became more and more, deemed to be outsiders, that they didn't belong, that they belonged somewhere else. And in, of course, the Zionist mind, that would be Israel. Nonetheless, it was created, became a movement, and history continued on till after the Second World War, where Britain was decolonizing rapidly and was losing a lot of influence that it had in the Middle East, as well as Africa and other places, and was decolonizing and having to deal with the fact that it had this Palestine land and didn't know what exactly to do with it. And at the same time, there was all these Jews in Germany that didn't exactly want to live there. And so they figured, let's seize upon this ideology. Let's leverage this to our state's advantage. And we'll just put them all there. Notably, they did this in conjunction with the United States, who, when they sent inspectors to go check it out and say, guys, what's it going to look like when we try to do this whole Israel thing? Try to make a Jewish state in this land of Palestine. The American advisor said, yeah, you could do it, but you will have to, genocide these people. You cannot just you cannot have a fundamentally Jewish state without getting rid of all the people that already live there. It's essentially what they said. And for reasons that are not because, I don't know, the powers that be were Jewish, because they obviously weren't. They were largely British and American peoples in the halls of power. And they had specific interests and motives. Specifically, Britain, like I said, was decolonizing. But they want to retain power and influence and, maybe access to oil, ideally. And exactly the same with the United States. They want to have power and influence in a region that they don't. It's called imperialism, if you didn't know. Anyway, so they essentially set up Israel and support it and create a de facto client state, a state which they can use to leverage and, exert imperialist influence in the region. So that's what they do. They create the state of Israel. And they're like, great, now I got this guy. And that came about, there was the Suez Crisis and all these other fucking wars and bullshit that sort of demonstrate this sort of historical reality. As time goes on, the United States continues to be Israel's #1 fanboy. And all the people in Congress are like, yep, this is cool. We like being imperialists because we're generally fundamentally conservative. Not a problem to us. I mean, I don't know, history in the United States is pretty clear that we love fucking with shit and exerting our hegemonic influence, and we want to counter the Soviet Union, etc., whatever. That's all part of the history. And they're all clearly the motives for why these things happen. And so that's why that happened. And then it comes to today, where we have these professors who are anti-Zionist. They see the genocide going on. They say, guys, we shouldn't be doing this. This is bad. It's always been pretty bad. But it's really bad right now. We should stop this. And the powers that be have not fundamentally changed. They're still largely very Zionist sort of congressmen. They like exerting that influence, especially all the conservative ones, not to mention the conservative sort of leaning into that evangelical idea of we got to send these Jews and have the second coming or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. But yeah, they have material reasons to be supportive of it. And so they keep doing it. And then when the professors get ousted, it's not by their fellow academics. It's not other professors being like, oh guys, this is out of line. This goes against the history of what we're being taught. No, it's all essentially administrators who were explicitly pressured by, the power of the state. I'd cite specifically when the heads of, what's it called? The heads of the Ivy League, like Harvard and, Princeton? I can't remember. They were essentially pressured into resigning by the Congress, and it's like, yeah, it's not, nothing about that is a Jewish conspiracy or a leftist conspiracy. I mean, to even tie those together is ridiculous, I'd also just make the point that, being a Nazi and being a Zionist are completely compatible. Like I described, the Zionist ideology is one of imperialist ethno-states, which Nazis fuck with. They love that shit. They want their ethno-state. They're like, yeah, I don't really give a shit. You can be over there. And as long as I have my beautiful little ethno-state here, it's usually pretty fine with them. And furthermore, if they can justify it in a separate country, it certainly helps them justify it within their own state. It is a bit paradoxical. I don't disagree in that Nazis, historically anti-Jewish, like you, calling things Jewish conspiracies and all that. But I don't know. I mean, it's just like a weird, like I said, it's not a ideology based in facts and history. It's an ideology based in vibes and pseudoscience and cursory observations exploited into, I don't know, creating a horrific ideology. I don't know really else to say about it. It's like, I don't know, like, I imagine you'd probably bring up, well, you know, X, Y, or Z prominent Jewish person, I don't know, influenced things, they lobbied, AI PAC, whatever. Again, I don't think that really makes it a Jewish conspiracy, like that AI PAC exists. Sort of a extension of Zionist ideology. It was supported by both Christians and Jews and non-Jews. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. Or like the Rothschilds, yeah, it's like it's a couple of very rich Jewish people doing things, but like there's so many people doing so many things. To say that that's a conspiracy, I just don't fucking believe it, dude. Like, how are they pulling the strings? It doesn't make sense. You're stupid. The historical record just doesn't support that. And like, people are very explicit with why they're doing things. Like, people write down, it's like, yeah, I want to have an ethno-state in the United Kingdom. We should get all these Jews out of here. Also, I'm a weird evangelical Christian and think they should be there for reasons. And that's fine, or whatever. It's not fine. It's very bad, actually. But again, not a Jewish conspiracy. And again, in this modern context of professors being oppressed and ousted, not a Jewish conspiracy. Also, you mentioned another thing earlier in the thread. You essentially said that academia is oppressive to right-wing ideologies and doesn't allow in conservatives, which is just fucking wrong. It's just stupid. It's like you never have seen academia or been to it or know what it's like at all, and just doesn't mesh with any sort of reality that exists. Like, if you go to academia, let's say you're like a very staunch conservative, and you go there, and like you're in your history class, and you do all the readings, and then you answer the questions according to your readings, or sorry, not according to the readings, according to your ideology and some whatever pseudoscience shit that you read on 4chan, as opposed to what the fuck actually happened and was like real and people researched and is peer reviewed and like understood to be true because it is true, and you answer based on your ideology, you will just get an F in the class. They're not like kicking you out to be mean to you. They're failing you because you're stupid and you think what you read on poll was correct for some reason. You know, it's just like, the more you read into it, the more you have like a generally, it just pushes you to being leftist if you just understand what the fuck happened. Like, if you understand, it's like, yeah, they did genocide those people because they wanted to create an ethno-state. That's what fucking happened. And it wasn't Jews who did it. It was the fucking states of the United States and the United Kingdom. That's just what happened. I don't know. And then what Israel has done since then has been just more supporting of that same sort of imperialist ethno-state ideology. Zionism doesn't have much to do with being Jewish, really, at all. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think conservatives are being persecuted in academia. And I don't think that it's Jews that are doing this, which, I mean, it's not really happening, so I don't fucking know. I don't know what to tell you, dude. You're just stupid, and I don't like you, and I wish you would shut up. That's it. Thanks. Bye.